We are now going to take you live to the Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews, who is providing an update on the Victorian bushfires.
The disaster was the right decision following Black Saturday and the Royal Commission. It's important that we use every tool that we have available to us. I want to update you on some developments before I do that, and probably at the end as well, because we've got to get this message out to as many people as possible. In those declared areas, in those 6 local government areas, and the Alpine resorts, and particularly in the fire impact zone, if you can leave, you must leave. That's the only safe thing for you, your family, and indeed for others who may be called to your assistance. We cannot guarantee your safety. We all have a role to play. Our fireys, our emergency services, they're all playing their role. Now it is up to ordinary community members to play their part as well. If you can leave, you must leave for your safety and the safety of others. Now, a power of work has gone on overnight, and Graham is going to update us on the outstanding work that his members have been doing in partnership with the ADF and others to put into place the evacuation protocols and the planning around that. Then Lisa will also speak about some other issues in relation to fire more specifically. I am saddened to have to update you that the total number of people who cannot be accounted for has now grown to 28. It remains the case that 2 people can be confirmed as having lost their lives. There are 2 deceased persons. I'm still not in a position to provide you with further information about the second of those deceased persons. As soon as we can give you more information about that individual, we will do that. But of course we have grave fears for the safety and well-being of those 28 people who cannot be located. Having said that though, these numbers will move around. A number of people who were part of the original 17 were located yesterday. There's been some other people who we've not even been able to necessarily determine as being missing, who have never made it onto a list but have become known to family and friends only very recently after a period of absence. These numbers will move around. That's the nature of a very dynamic fire ground, but I can confirm today, as at 9:30, there are 28 people that we cannot locate, and we are very concerned about their well-being. More broadly, I've had discussions with the Prime Minister today. I think Graham will speak to this in more detail. ADF are working seamlessly with Victoria Police in the main and our other emergency services, pardon me. The Mallacoota situation is developing as well as it could. It's a massive logistical task, but we're going to have more and more people out of Mallacoota today, and communities, I think, are listening to the messaging, the very clear messaging about getting out of communities and certainly not going into those fire-affected communities anytime soon. This is a very challenging set of circumstances, and I just take this opportunity again to thank every single person in our emergency services, all of our partners. There's no intergovernmental issues here. We're all working together, local government, our government and the national government, to keep Victorians safe. The declaration last night is unprecedented, but the weather conditions, the amount of fire we've got in the landscape, the 800,000 hectares that have already been burnt, a massive fire edge, and every prospect of new starts, new fires in coming days mean that these are unprecedented circumstances as well. To everyone involved, thank you so much, and of course we'll be back before you to update you regularly over the course of the next 2 or 3 days. Can I just, before I call upon Graham to add to my comments, can I just very clearly indicate to you how impressive Victoria Police and all of our emergency services, but Victoria Police members right across the state are doing a power of work, as they always do, serving us well, and the Chief Commissioner can update us on the very significant work that Victoria Police and others have done to give effect to the declaration of disaster and the evacuations that I spoke about last night. And then Lisa will speak a little bit about fire and the likely outcomes across the weekend, and then we're happy to take any questions you have.
Thank you, Premier. So in relation to the work that's being done to support the declaration that was made last night, Victoria Police established a state of disaster activation plan, which is now being put into effect. So what I'm doing now is just telling you what is essentially in that plan and what the police activity looks like being today in support of that plan in relation to the declaration of the state of disaster and in support of the State Control Centre. So for Victoria Police, we've had to draw up the activation plan. The Victoria Police State Police Operations Centre has been established at the VPC. That'll continue to stand up whilst the declaration is in effect. The work that was done overnight is in respect to approximately 35,000 square kilometres of land and covering approximately 100,000 people in terms of total population. The area of potential impact zone obviously includes a number of substantial population centres, including Bright, Lakes Entrance, Mallacoota, Myrtleford, Omeo and Orbost. Again, as the Premier said, for everyone in that impact zone, that you are in that impact zone, if you can leave, we're saying you must leave. In terms of the activation plan, we've had to establish a number of relief centres. We've been grateful for the support overnight of the ADF, who have been providing logistical support in enabling the establishment of 2 ADF relief centres. In the first instance, however, we do want people to undertake a sequence in relation to making their decisions on their evacuation. The first is obviously self-evacuation. That is to evacuate and conduct your own management outside of the impact area. This will be particularly important for tourists, for example, that are in affected areas. The second is to shelter with family or friends outside of the impact area. Again, mindful this is a very large geographic location, so if you have family and friends outside of this impact zone that can support you over the next few days, we'd ask that you take up that option. The third is to access the municipal evacuation centres that have been reinforced overnight. The 2 principal sites, or 3 principal sites I'd like to reinforce for you this morning are the site in Bairnsdale. That's at the Bairnsdale Football Oval in Dalmahoy Street, Bairnsdale, and then at the Wangaratta Performing Arts Centre in Fort Street. There are 2 other locations outside the impact zone, including the Cube building, C-U-B-E, Cube building in Wodonga, and the Wodonga Showgrounds as well is there. There's also got accommodation there for caravans, motorhomes and the like, I'm given to understand. If you'd like to take advantage then of the fourth, which is the ADF location, there are 2 locations that have been established with the support of the ADF overnight. The first is at the Gaza Ridge Barracks, which is essentially the Bandiana Army Barracks. That's in South Bandiana at Anzac Parade. There's fixed accommodation there already in place for people if they arrive at that location. There's obviously services available for people at that location as well. The second site that the ADF have provided us with overnight is down at HMAS Cerberus, which is down in Western Port in Victoria. Again, there's existing facilities there for people to access if they wish to do so. So again, just to reinforce that sequence for you, self-evacuation, shelter with family, friends outside of the impact area, access municipal facilities, which I've just described to you, and then the fourth is to access the ADF facilities as well. There's a number of vulnerable people that obviously live in these impact zones. There are hospitals, there are aged care facilities. So from this morning, in collaboration with the local government in those areas, we're working to enact the existing evacuation plans, emergency plans that are already standing plans in place for those facilities. So we'll be engaging through that work today. There'll be our local police working with the local government area to enact those plans. There are other people who are on our vulnerable persons register with local government. Again, our police will be making every effort today to get to those people as well, that obviously live on their own or in other places, to be able to get to them as well and offer support to them around their evacuation needs as well. So from just one sec. So what we've got then is we're going to be working in relation to making sure those vulnerable persons are supported. Now, for information, as Andrew has been saying, Andrew Crisp now for some time, there's the Vic Emergency website, the Vic Emergency app. There's also the hotline. The hotline number is 1800 226 226. When we want people today who are making decisions around their evacuations in response to the information we're giving them, we also want them to register with Register, Find and Reunite. That's at the redcross.org.au site, or by calling 1800 727 077, 1800 727 077. So today police will be out in those areas. We'll also be maintaining a presence in those locations of major centres after this evacuation occurs. That's to obviously provide security reassurance for people that are still in those areas, but also around infrastructure as well. There's a significant infrastructure protection requirement within that impact zone, and so we'll be undertaking work to make sure that critical infrastructure is supported and protected as well. So within that impact zone there will still be a strong police presence. That police presence will remain there for as long as it's safe for those officers to be in those locations, and that'll obviously be a moving event as fire impacts on the weekend. Those critical decisions will be actively and dynamically made as required. Andrew Crisp will be providing additional information on relief centre activity throughout the day, because we're having to relocate a number of relief centres outside of the impact zone now, so he'll be talking to you more about that. So far we've been very grateful for community support in the work that has been done around evacuations and relocations. We've had a lot of door knocking was done yesterday, particularly up around the Bright area and through that area, so the community have been very supportive as police have been doing that. The community can't expect today, over such a huge geographic area, that every door is going to be knocked on. So we'll be moving down streets, we'll be communicating with people, which will include door knocks, but often it may include you hearing from the police car in the street. So we'll be moving through these communities as best we can, trying to cover as much area as we can through the course of today, because there is this window of opportunity that we're in right now where we're trying to maximise in terms of people leaving the area, and so we'll be having a strong visible presence in making sure we do everything we can to make sure that people are supported through that process. On the highways, we're expecting that there'll be a lot of traffic on highways today, particularly those exits out of Gippsland and then out of the North Murray area. So we're going to have the Highway Patrol have conducted traffic management plans and executing those today. There'll be a strong Highway Patrol presence on those highways, doing everything they can to keep that traffic flowing smoothly. Again, there'll be a lot of traffic on the road. People need to exercise patience in relation to their driving behaviour and expect delays, because there will be delays. We've been in touch in relation to critical infrastructure about petrol supplies through those petrol stations that are likely to be heavily attended today, and so that was taking place yesterday, so we anticipate there will be enough resourcing presence there, but people will need to expect that there will be delays, and again we encourage people to be patient through that process as well.